Okay, let's just dive right in. Today, we're putting two absolute heavyweights of the supplement world head to head in what is basically a war for your brain. In one corner, you've got the ancient herb ashwagandha, and in the other, the cool, calm, and collected amino acid L-theanine. Now, both of these are famous for fighting stress, but you'll see they do it in completely different ways.
And that is the million-dollar question we're here to answer. A lot of people just grab one or the other thinking they're pretty much the same thing. But here's the kicker. Choosing the wrong one for your specific body chemistry isn't just, ineffective. It can actually make your stress, your fatigue, and your anxiety a whole lot worse. So, yeah, let's get this right.
So, first up in the ring is ashwagandha. Now, this is not some new trend. It's an ancient adaptogenic herb, which just means it helps your body adapt to and resist stress. It's a real powerhouse in Ayurvedic medicine, one of the oldest healing systems in the world. Its whole reputation is built on being a powerful force against stress, and its nickname, the cortisol crusher, tells you pretty much everything you need to know about its game plan.
Right, so to really get how ashwagandha works, you first have to understand its main opponent, cortisol. Just think of cortisol as your body's built-in alarm system. Whenever you're facing a threat, or let's be real, just a super stressful day at work, your adrenal glands start pumping this stuff out. It's the hormone that gives you that classic fight or flight feeling.
And this is exactly where ashwagandha comes in. Its number one job, its main superpower, is to step in when that cortisol alarm is just blaring way too loud for way too long. It literally grabs those high cortisol levels and yanks them back down to earth. It's a very targeted cortisol-lowering tool.
And listen, we're not talking about a tiny little adjustment here. The effect can be seriously significant. In fact, some clinical studies have actually seen cortisol levels drop by as much as 30% in people taking ashwagandha. That is a huge reduction when you're feeling constantly frazzled and on edge. All right, so let's bring in our second contender, L-theanine. Now, L-theanine plays a totally different game. It doesn't fight on the hormonal battlefield down in your adrenal glands. No, it operates in a completely different place, directly inside your brain. It's less of a crusher and more like a cool, calm conductor for your mind. So, unlike ashwagandha, L-theanine is not an herb. It's a natural amino acid, and it's the very thing that gives green tea that amazing calming quality. Its real superpower is that it can slip right past the blood-brain barrier, which lets it go to work and directly influence the chemistry and the electrical signals in your mind.
So what's it do once it's in your brain? Well, it gets to work as this master modulator. It boosts alpha brainwaves, which are linked to that amazing state of calm focus. When you're totally in the zone, relaxed but super alert. It also cranks up key neurotransmitters, GABA, which is like your brain's brake pedal for anxiety, dopamine for focus and drive, and serotonin to help keep your mood stable.
But here's the really cool thing about L-theanine. It's special talent. It doesn't just shove your brain chemistry in one direction. It acts more like a smart thermostat for your mind. As you can see from its actions, if your calming chemicals are running low, it helps bring them up. If your wired up chemicals are going crazy, it helps calm them down. It helps your brain find its own happy balance. Okay, so they both sound pretty amazing, don't they? One crushes cortisol, the other balances your brain. But this is the exact spot where a massive, and I mean potentially harmful mistake gets made all the time. Using the wrong tool for your specific kind of stress isn't just a waste of money, it can backfire spectacularly. The whole decision really boils down to this one crucial question. See, your stress isn't just some vague feeling, it's a real biological state. And if you use a powerful cortisol-lowering supplement like ashwagandha on a body that's already running on empty, cortisol-wise, well, you're not solving the problem, you're actually creating a brand new one. And hey, this isn't just some theory. This is a direct warning from doctors who actually run the lab tests on their patients. If your baseline cortisol is already in the tank, which can definitely happen after long periods of chronic stress, taking something designed to lower it even more is literally the last thing you want to do. This slide just illustrates it perfectly. What we call stress can actually be two very, very different biological states. There's high cortisol stress. That's that classic feeling of being agitated, frazzled, wired, but tired. But then there's low cortisol stress, and that feels completely different. It's anxiety, sure, but it's mixed with this deep fatigue, brain fog, and just zero energy. So here's the crucial takeaway. If you correctly match the tool to the problem, high cortisol gets ashwagandha, you get balance. Awesome. But if you mismatch them,
and you apply that same cortisol-crushing tool to a system that already has low cortisol, you don't get balance. You get a crash. You're literally pushing your body deeper into burnout. And what does that crash feel like? Well, it feels like all your original problems, but on steroids. We're talking about even more chronic fatigue, making it nearly impossible to get out of bed, worsened feelings of depression, motivation that's just totally tanked, and this profound feeling of being completely sluggish and burned out. You were trying to fix your stress, but you accidentally ended up sabotaging your entire system.
So, how in the world do we avoid this disaster? How do you arm yourself with the right tool for your own personal stress war? Well, thankfully, it's not just a guessing game. There is a clear, simple protocol you can follow.
It's really just a simple, logical process. First, we'll look at how to actually listen to what your body is telling you through your symptoms. Second, we'll talk about why you have to confirm that with real data. And then finally, armed with all that knowledge, you can make a smart, informed choice about the right tool for the job. Okay, step 1, identify your symptoms. Just look at this chart. If your stress feels hot, agitated, wired, constantly on, that's a pretty big clue you're dealing with high cortisol, which makes ashwagandha a possible solution. But if your stress feels more cold, anxious, but also drained, unfocused, low energy, you're way more likely dealing with a neurotransmitter issue, and that's where L-Theanine would be the much better tool.
Now look, symptoms are a great starting point, but they are still just a guide. The only way to know for absolute certain what's going on under the hood is to actually test. A simple saliva test can show your cortisol levels all day long, and other tests can pinpoint neurotransmitter imbalances. This is how you go from just guessing to actually knowing. And all this brings us to the final decision. Think of ashwagandha as a surgeon's scalpel. It's incredibly effective for one specific job, lowering confirmed high cortisol. L-Theanine, on the other hand, is more like a Swiss Army knife. It's versatile, it's great for general anxiety and focus, and because it's a modulator, it's a much, much safer place to start if you haven't actually done the lab tests yet.
So really, the biggest takeaway here is about a shift in your thinking. We have to stop asking, what's the best supplement for stress? And instead, we need to start asking, what supplement is right for my body's current state? Personalization isn't some fancy luxury. It's absolutely key to getting results without accidentally doing more harm than good. And that leaves us with one final question for you to really think about. Based on everything you just heard, take an honest look at your own strategy for managing stress. By understanding the critical difference between these two powerful allies, you can finally make sure that the weapon you choose is actually aimed at the right enemy.